Imagine a country so small that today it's barely the size of Texas, yet just 400 years ago it controlled half the world. From the gold mines of South America to the islands of the Philippines, Spain became the world's first superpower faster than any empire before it. But just as quickly as it rose, it collapsed. So how did Spain go from ruling 5 million square miles to shrinking back into one tiny corner of Europe? This is the unbelievable story of the rise and fall of the Spanish Empire. Today, Spain covers 195,000 square miles, making it the fourth largest country in Europe. It shares borders with Portugal to the west and with France and Andorra to the north. In addition, Spain controls the Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean and the Canary Islands in the Atlantic. But in the early 19th century, this same Spain controlled an area of 5 million square miles stretching from North America down to Argentina in South America. And not just that, on the other side of the Pacific Ocean in East Asia, the Philippines was also under the control of the Spanish Empire. So the question arises, how did such a small country manage to build such a vast empire, and then what happened that in just a few years, the world's very first and fastest growing superpower completely collapsed and shrank back to just this one country? This is the story of a nation that, in human history, became a world superpower at the fastest pace and then fell just as quickly. The truth is, in today's video, we will learn how Spain became the world's first superpower and then how the mighty Spanish Empire collapsed. Spain before the rise of empire. Let's go back to the 8th century when present-day Spain was under Muslim control, then known as Al-Andalus. Muslims ruled Spain for about 800 years. During these centuries, there was remarkable progress in science, philosophy, and architecture. But the Muslim Empire constantly faced resistance from Christian kingdoms, a struggle known as the Reconquista. These were battles fought by Christian states for centuries to expel Muslims from Spain. By the end of the 15th century, Christians had regained 90% of Spain, leaving Muslim control limited only to Granada. At that time, Spain was divided into 3 Christian kingdoms and 1 Islamic kingdom. Then, in 1469, to strengthen Christian control and finally expel Muslims, Queen Isabella of Castile married King Ferdinand II of Aragon together. They defeated the Muslim armies in the Battle of Granada 1492, taking control of all of Spain. Discovery of the New World. Now in full control of Spain, the Christian monarchs had the chance to explore the wider world and benefit from international trade routes. Their neighbor, Portugal, had already been exploring the Atlantic Ocean for 70 years, discovering trade routes around Africa to South and East Asia. This gradually broke the Ottoman Empire's monopoly over Middle Eastern trade routes, since the Ottomans controlled most of the trade between Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. In this context, an Italian explorer, Christopher Columbus, proposed a new idea to the Spanish monarchy in 1480. He argued that if the Earth was round, one could reach Asia not by sailing around Africa, but by sailing west across the Atlantic Ocean, a shorter route. At the time, nobody knew what lay beyond the Atlantic. Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand liked Columbus's idea, since they too wanted Spain to discover new trade routes, just like Portugal. On August 3, 1492, Columbus set sail from Palos de la Frontera with 3 small ships. After 2 months, he reached an island believing he had reached Asia. He named it San Salvador. Over the following months, he explored parts of the Bahamas, northern Cuba, and Hispaniola, and returned to Spain in 1493. Excited by his discoveries, the monarchs sent him again, this time with 17 ships. Columbus explored the Caribbean islands further, meeting local people and returning in 1496. On his 3rd voyage in 1498, he reached Trinidad. This time, he realized he had not reached Asia, but rather an unknown continent. His 4th and final voyage in 1502 took him to parts of Central America, Panama, Jamaica, Honduras, and Nicaragua, but he fell seriously ill and returned to Spain, where he died in 1506. Although Columbus failed to find a shorter route to Asia, his discovery of a new continent shook the world and permanently changed the course of history. Treaty of Tordesillas. Spain and Portugal soon argued over who controlled the new lands. To settle this, they signed the Treaty of Tordesillas 1494, dividing the non-European world along two lines. Areas west went to Spain, areas east went to Portugal. This is why Brazil, though in South America, became Portuguese while the rest of South America became Spanish-speaking. Expansion in the Americas. Spain began permanent settlements, starting with Santo Domingo on Hispaniola. By 1515, they controlled much of the Caribbean, using Cuba as their headquarters. In 1518, Hernan courts arrived in Mexico, where the powerful Aztec Empire ruled. After 2 years of fighting, courts captured the Aztec capital Tenochtitlan, later Mexico City, but along with conquest, Spaniards brought diseases unknown to locals like smallpox, killing millions of indigenous people. Soon, reports emerged of another advanced civilization in South America. Between 1530 to 1540, Spain conquered the Inca Empire in modern-day Peru. Ecuador, and Bolivia again. European diseases wiped out much of the native population, easing Spain's conquest. By 1530, Spain controlled most of Central and South America. In 1519 to 1522, Ferdinand Magellan sailed westward, eventually reaching and claiming the Philippines for Spain. By 1570, Spain controlled these islands, giving it influence in Asian geopolitics. The Golden Century. By the late 16th century, Spain discovered immense gold and silver mines in Mexico, Bolivia, and Peru. These were shipped back to Spain. By the end of the century, Spain received 80% of the world's gold and silver supply. But in the colonies, a mixed society emerged. Mestizos, children of Spaniards and native women. Criollos, Creoles, children of Spaniards but born in the Americas. Peninsulares, Spaniards born in Spain, sent to rule over the colonies. By the 17th century, tension grew between these classes as Creoles and Mestizos wanted independence from Spain. Meanwhile, externally, Spain faced growing threats. The British and French expanded into North America and the Caribbean. Britain captured Jamaica in 1655 and fought Spain over other islands. Decline of the empire. By the 18th century, Spain's expansion slowed, with only limited growth into California and Texas. In 1808, disaster struck. Napoleon invaded Spain, taking control within a year. This gave Creoles and Mestizos in Latin America the chance to rebel. From 1810 to 1824, independence wars swept across Spanish America. 1816, Argentina declared independence. 1818. Chile, 1819. Colombia, 1821. Mexico, 1824. Peru. In just 8 years, Spain lost almost all of its colonies. By the late 19th century, Spain only controlled Cuba, Puerto Rico, a few Caribbean islands, and the Philippines. Finally, after the Spanish-American War 1898, Spain lost these two to the United States. The end of the empire. After 400 years of ruling half the world and controlling most of its gold supply, the mighty Spanish Empire collapsed, reduced to the small Iberian nation we now know as Spain. So this was the story of Spain, the world's first global superpower that rose faster than any other empire in history and then collapsed just as quickly.